U.S. President Donald Trump's post-NATO summit press conference is underway. According to Associated Press, the president used his opening remarks to praise a massive precision strike on Iran that he ordered. He again suggested that Iran's nuclear program had been obliterated, despite early U.S. intelligence assessments questioning that. "We call it the 12-day war," Trump said of the conflict between Iran and Israel, adding that the U.S. considers the hostilities concluded. He said the agreement by NATO members to increase their defense spending was a monumental win for the United States.
Well, thank you very much. This has been an honor. And as you know, last weekend the United States successfully carried out a massive precision strike on Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities, and it was very, very successful. It was called obliteration. No other military on earth could have done it, and now this incredible exercise of American strength has paved the way for peace with a historic ceasefire agreement late Monday, and we call it the 12-day war. Spoke to a few people. I guess that just sounded like the right name. It was a 12-day war. And we think it's over. I don't think they're going to be going back at each other. I don't think so. Not only have we dealt decisively with the critical threat of Iran's nuclear program, which was what I wanted. I said, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I've said that for 15 years, long before I decided to do the political thing. But we've also reasserted the credibility of American deterrence, which is like no other. It was a fairly long trip, but worth it. Tremendous things have been accomplished, as you probably noticed. Listened to a lot of wonderful speeches from the heads of a lot of wonderful countries. Over the past 2 days, I was honored to participate in the NATO leaders meeting and also had extremely good individual discussions with the King and the Queen, Secretary General Rutte. The United States accounts for 2/3 of all NATO defense spending. And since I began pushing for additional commitments in 2017, believe it or not, our allies have increased spending by $700 billion. I said to people, you don't have any money, and a lot of them weren't paying. And so I started the process, and I picked it up as soon as I got back, which is 6 months ago. And following my election last November, almost all have accelerated plans to reach the 2%, 3%, 4%, and then ultimately, very quickly, 5%. And all of this is going to be done very quickly, almost immediately. You probably know this as well as I do. I'm sure they've been talking about it. It's really been a big focus. In a very historic milestone this week, the NATO allies committed to dramatically increase their defense spending to that 5% of GDP, something that no one really thought possible. And they said, "You did it, sir, you did it." Well, I don't know if I did it, but I think I did. This will be known as the Hague Defense Commitment, which is pretty good, pretty appropriate. When the allies reach this number, it will add more than $1 trillion a year. Think of that, $1 trillion per year to our common defense. And this is a monument really to victory, but it's a monumental win for the United States, because we were carrying much more than our fair share. It was quite unfair, actually. But this is a big win for Europe and for actually Western civilization.
U.S. President Donald Trump claimed a ceasefire between Iran and Israel was, in effect, on Tuesday, after expressing deep frustration with both sides and accusing them of violating the agreement he brokered. According to Associated Press, Israel earlier accused Iran of launching missiles into its airspace after the truce was supposed to take effect. The Iranian military denied firing on Israel, state media reported. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said he held off on tougher strike against Iran after speaking to Trump. Netanyahu said Israel agreed to a bilateral ceasefire with Iran, in coordination with Trump, after the country achieved all of its war goals, including removing the threat of Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile programs. It's unclear what role Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran's leader, played in the talks. He said earlier on social media that he would not surrender. Trump said Tuesday that he wasn't seeking regime change in Iran, 2 days after floating the idea himself in a social media post. Damage assessments are still underway. Meanwhile, Trump said he thinks he'll see Volodymyr Zelensky during the NATO summit.
A lot of planes going in the wrong direction, you know that.
Do you want any consequences for Israel?
No, because they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. They would have if they put out a statement of truth. And they didn't do anything.
Sir, how are you confident that this might not happen again? Say in a couple of weeks?
I think they're both tired of it. I think they don't want it to happen again. And Iran's not going to have a nuclear weapon, by the way. I think it's the last thing on their mind right now.
Mr. President, did Iran make any commitments yesterday about uranium enrichment?
About what?
About uranium enrichment?
They're not going to have enrichment, and they're not going to have a nuclear weapon, and they know that. They're going to get on to being a great trading nation. You know, they're very good traders. And they're going to be a great trading nation, and they have a lot of oil. They're going to do well. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon.
So did they
The last thing on Iran's mind right now is nuclear weapons.
Can you clarify what you meant when you mentioned regime change in your Truth Social post the other night?
Which?
Regime change?
No.
Do you want to see regime change in
No,
Iran?
no. If there was, there was. But no, I don't want it. I'd like to see everything calm down as quickly as possible. Regime change takes chaos. And ideally, we don't want to see so much chaos. So we'll see how it does. You know, the Iranians are very good traders, very good businessmen, and they got a lot of oil. They should be fine. They should be able to rebuild and do a good job. They're never going to have nuclear, but other than that, they should do a great job. Now we're going to NATO, and we'll get a new set of problems. We'll solve a new set of problems.
Do you think you'll be with Zelensky when you're there?
Yeah, probably. I'll say it.
What would you say to him?
I'll say, how you doing? He's in a tough situation. Should have never been there.
Sir, you said a couple days ago that you didn't think the U.S. should have to agree to the 5% increase in GDP.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. No.
Do you want to carve out?
I was the one that said that's what they should be paying, as you know. No, I should do something. And they're having a problem with Spain. There always a problem with Spain. Because Spain's not agreeing, which is very unfair to the rest of them.